I am a certified sex educator, a certified holistic sex educator, and I'm also a board certified sexologist. I hold a doctorate in education with a concentration in leadership, and I have a private practice as an intimacy consultant that specializes in alternative lifestyles, anything that has to do with kink, BDSM, power exchange dynamics, and consensual non-monogamy.
Fascinating. Okay, what led you down this path?
So that's actually a very long answer. I will try my best to keep it short and concise. I have always been very interested in things that were maybe not of the mainstream. And for as long as I can remember, I always felt very much like an outcast. In most of my relationships, I always felt very shamed for some of the things that I was into or some of the things that I was really open to. And I had done a lot of research on my own, and coming into my 30s, I really just started finding communities that were like me. And I realized, wow, there are other people out there that feel this way, where there isn't shame, where there isn't stigma. And it was such an empowering and freeing experience that I decided to change career paths. Prior to becoming a intimacy consultant and working within this field, I was an English and essay writing professor, and then also a learning management developer. So I worked for global corporations, building learning management systems, and then I also taught a lot of college level and graduate level courses. And I think it was through a lot of that as well, through teaching literature and doing so much in the world of literature, you find things that are very interesting, especially in historical literature. Where kink is mentioned in many different forms, where fetishes are mentioned, and these beautiful prose that are written about these experiences of these people. And it just kind of finally clicked that, wow, this is something that has been dating back since the earliest times of recorded history. I'm not such a crazy person. It's the rest of the world that has really shunned it and closed off to it and created so much of this feeling of shame in the world. I wanted to be a part of opening that up. And in order to do that, I had to open myself up and be more really just honest about myself, and finding out that it helped a lot of people. It was very inspiring. So, yeah, that's how I got into this. And I switched career paths, got my certification, and I have been in love with my life and with my job ever since.
Wow, that's incredible. You right from the beginning touched on a topic that I've found to be true with a lot of even the members that are on Live Jasmine, in that they have an interest or a fantasy or something that they are almost afraid to go to their partners with or to open up about on a date. And so they kind of will try and explore that through Live Jasmine, and they're able to kind of get to know themselves. I've had so many members say, like, I was able to realize, like, I love this and I never got to experience it before. Or I was able to realize I never want to do that again, or, whatever the case is. And I think so many people can relate to that of, having an interest that is shamed by society and not really knowing what to do or where to go with it.
Very much so. And it's interesting that you bring that up. I work with several sex workers, cam girls and others. And one of the things that I see as a theme, very much so, even in the case studies and things, I'm part of some different research groups that are really trying to destigmatize the world of kink, the world of really even pornography, and making it not the dirty thing, that's underneath, your bed at night kind of thing. And one of the biggest themes is that people really don't feel comfortable even talking to their significant other about some of these feelings. And when you don't feel comfortable, you start seeing that show up in other parts of your life. And if you don't take care of your sexuality, you don't take care of the whole person, it absolutely shows up in work. It shows up in your communication styles. When you're working with a cam girl, a lot of them have said, wow, I'm working with this person. I feel so good knowing that I'm giving them space to be themselves, and they're able to go and learn better communication skills. They're more open to new things. they can be a better, worker in their career. They can be a better husband or a better wife, better couple. If they're in a poly relationship, they can be better partners. It does open the door to just so many ways of empowering yourself and creating just better communication with those around you. That's 99.9% of it is communication. We as human beings, life seeks out other life. Life seeks out connection. And that is exactly what we're doing. We're doing something no different, not to put it up on such a massive pedestal, but in a way it kind of is. We have, people that are trying to find life out in the other parts of the universe. We're trying to find life at the bottom of the ocean, in the deepest trenches. We're trying to constantly find life and connection. And when, especially during the time of isolation, it everything was cut off. What are you going to do? Who are you going to go to? It opened up a lot of opportunities for cam girls to be themselves, to be this fantasy of themselves for others, and feeling what that was like to be seen in a new way that was very empowering for them. And then other people being able to go and be a part of this fantasy for themselves and building new connections at the same time they're learning communication skills. I think it's absolutely the most fundamental thing in the world to have some sort of a connection with another human being.
Absolutely. It's like, I mean, if I've thought about this, what do we do when we want to punish someone? We throw them into some type of confinement, either in jail or we stop talking to them, but we cut off connection. That is how we punish human beings because we intrinsically know how much we as human beings value and need connections. That's what we do to punish people, is we take it away in some way. And so my first question around this topic would be, like, I personally see connection and human interaction and relationships as more fundamental almost than like money. And I know that's a crazy thing to say and people are going to jump all over it, but the thing is like we don't intrinsically need money. We need it in the sense that it provides us a way to get other needs met, like food and shelter and that type of thing, but money itself we don't need. We do need human connection. So my question is, like, we're taught how to make money to a degree. Why aren't we taught how to like nurture connection and intimacy, which is such a fundamental aspect of our need system, right? Like
It's that oh boy, that's a very deep question right there because it can go into so many different rabbit holes. One of the things that we see quite a bit, especially in the research, is that when we're looking at that element of human connection, it's like you said, we tend as a society that when we get upset and we take things away, we naturally just shut down. We ignore people. You put a kid into the corner or you send them to their room. We do that from such an early age. And at the core of it, we've kind of been taught that by society in a way. I mean, not to go into like the whole religious or into the church or how the church has changed, the society as a whole. But a lot of it is control. We need to get control of the situation. We want to have control over what is happening to us. And when we feel out of control, suddenly we don't know what to do with that, and we tend to completely shut down as a human being. It's actually a very natural thing to want to do. Fighting that urge to look at it from a different perspective, that wait, I can gain control again. I can gain control of myself, looking at what you have control over rather than trying to control that other person. And once we reframe that, it becomes a much more like a calm situation. We can talk more clearly, we can vocalize our needs and our wants, but we're really not taught that. I mean, when we are taught it, it's usually from our parents. Teachers in school, nowadays are trying to teach it more, but we've been lacking it for so long. We have generations to go back that don't know how to discuss their needs. I mean, I wouldn't have the job that I do if everyone knew how to discuss their needs, right? But we have to learn how to do that, and it's something that I think is becoming more and more important. And I agree with you 100%. It is probably more important than money, to the extent that even marketers, like I've worked one-on-one with VIPs of marketing agencies for global corporations in my past. And one thing that I thought was very interesting when I was working with them was when they were trying to design a marketing campaign for something new, a new product that they were going to be getting out. they would go through this process of identifying key emotional words, ways that could build a connection with that product to the target audience. So even marketers, understand that in order to get people, consumers to buy something, there has to be a connection there of some sort. So they're using it in a way that we don't even recognize yet. But once we become more aware of it, we are able to be better consumers. We can have more literacy in what we're seeing. And we can start dissecting that a little bit for ourselves as well and go, wow, is this something that I'm feeling a connection with and I need? Or is this something that maybe I don't really need, but I'm being made to feel something? So I think there's just so many avenues that you can go down with that. And no matter what, we have to understand ourselves. We have to understand connection, emotion, relationships. And unfortunately, it's up to us to seek that knowledge out because it's not going to be taught to us just yet.
Earlier, you brought up a point that I think doesn't get talked about a whole lot that I thought was interesting because it's very easy to see some of the benefits and rewards that members experience with a platform like Live Jasmin in camming. But you mentioned how models themselves feel seen and they feel valuable from this particular work. I know you mentioned you've worked with cam models. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that process, why they're feeling seen in this environment?
Definitely. I'm really glad that you brought this question up. It's big passion of mine. A lot of us women, we tend to grow up with this idea that we have to be sexy, but not too sexy. We have to withhold our sex because it's something that is dirty, but yet it's the greatest gift that we can give to our husband. There's all of these different things, ways that we've truly been shamed. You're shamed because, oh, you lost your virginity. What if we reframe that idea to, well, you had your first sexual experience? It's no longer shaming. And one of the things that I see so much when I have a cam model that has come to me, a lot of times it's because there's a lot of turmoil that's going on. Like I love what I do, but I feel so weird about it. Like what if somebody finds out? What if, my kids, teachers at the school, what if they know about this? Or what if someone at work finds out that this is what I do to earn extra income to support my family? There's all of these things that are going on with them. But at the core of it, we look at how do you feel when you're doing it? Do you feel empowered? And they always say, yes. For the first time in my life, I feel I can express myself as a whole person where sex is not the thing that is being shoved into the closet and is a dirty little secret. And that's why I consider myself very holistic. We have to look at the whole person. And if you cut out sex, you're cutting out an entire piece of a person's existence. So for cam models, they're able to sit there, they're able to portray themselves in a way that feels authentic for them. Or maybe it's not necessarily authentic because they're role playing, but they get to play. They get to play for the first time and it be okay. That's an amazing, empowering experience for a woman who is constantly told, it's your fault if you get a look, it's your fault if this happens to you. Well, no. What if that other person is taught to respect that and respect that that's how I want to be? It's a very big passion of mine to be able to work with cam models like that and see the empowerment grow and the shame and stigma just kind of melt away.
It's interesting because what I basically heard you say is part of the reason that a lot of these cam models feel seen for the first time is because maybe not the first time, but they feel seen in what they do is because they're able to express a part of themselves that is usually stuffed in the corner and said, if you bring this out, you're going to be in trouble and there's going to be a problem. In this ecology and environment, if you will, bringing out your sensuality, which is so innate to all of us, but especially to women. I think like we just naturally have sensuality, and to be able to express it in a place where it is celebrated and you're rewarded for it, which is such a contrast to normal society where you're shamed and you're punished for it. I find that really interesting where it's like, yeah, this is all of me. And to get a reward. That's very interesting. I recently interviewed a cam model and I asked her, what do your friends and family think about what you do? And she said, you know, some agree, some don't, but what she's learned is that we as women, we don't naturally feel shame around our sexuality. We're taught that. And she was like, so I basically just undid whatever programming she had. And now she feels good about her sexuality. She feels good about her job. She knows that she's making a difference in people's lives who don't have an opportunity to have intimacy or connection otherwise. And she doesn't really care about what labels they want to place on her.
Yes, that is beautiful. I see that quite a bit, especially for moms. People often forget that moms are still sexy, that moms still have a sex drive. They still want to feel sensual. Like there's nothing, I'm a mom of three. I completely understand that probably better than anybody. And it sucks when you are a mom and all of a sudden, God forbid you wear something that's too low cut, or you try to express yourself, or you want to go out and dress a little sexy for the night. Or if you're a single mom and you are trying to go out and have a relationship or have a night out or just have a booty call, you can't do that because you're a mom. You're looked down upon for it. And I know, so, I mean, all of the girls that I have worked with, all the women that I've worked with that are cam models, they're also moms. And that's a very big thing for me, is to be able to sit there and say, you're providing for your kids, you're feeling fantastic, you look fantastic, you're being rewarded for something that you are truly making a difference with. Like, you should feel absolutely amazing about yourself for this. But because society just continues to bog you down every step of the way, like, we have to learn to be literate about everything around us so that we can choose the environment, we can pick and choose what makes us feel the most authentic and feel the best about ourselves. Um, yeah, it's a big topic.
You know, it's interesting that you just said that every cam model you've worked with has been a mother. And I think that that's something that also gets overlooked. What kind of crisis is being solved for single moms or stay-at-home moms who now don't have to worry about hiring daycare, or they're able to be at home with their children. They're able to, there's a big opportunity to make a lot of money camming. I think we all know that. So they actually have the opportunity to be financially independent if they need that. And so it's like we're not looking at as a society at these crucial gaps that are being filled for certain groups of people. And we just want to take away or shame the thing and not actually even come close to admitting some of the good that it could be doing. Why do you think moms or single moms are drawn to this industry?
Exactly like you said, it provides an opportunity for them in doing something that they, number one, makes them feel really good. It's great money, it's, at least for those that are doing it well, they can make some amazing money doing it. Um, in this world, we, especially in the US, I think, not, maybe not so much in other parts of the world, because they have, year-long maternity leaves and things like that that are paid, and all of these fabulous things. In the US, we get really nothing. When I was going to school and I was also teaching, I was having my kids while I was getting my degrees. But I didn't even get a day off when I was giving birth. I had no time available. I went right back to work the next day. It was all doing teaching online, but I was immediately sitting in the hospital with a newborn baby in my arms, still working. And it was really hard to try to come to grips with, wow, I should be here celebrating my child, and instead I'm sitting here working my tail off. Um, it's not a secret that childcare is expensive. Per kid, you're looking at anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 a month just to put them into a full-time daycare. So you're paying somebody else to take care of your kid while you go to work all day. You come home, you're dog tired, and you still have laundry, you still have cooking, you still have to take care of yourself. You need to be there for homework. You have, volleyball practice, basketball practice, whatever it is. There is no you left at the end of all of that. And you have to have that time for self-care. One of the things with camming, you can go and, send your kid to school during the day. You can get whatever it is that we all know the daylight hours, the natural light is beautiful for models and for doing photography of any kind. Um, You have that opportunity to get that done during the day before the kids come home. You can go and be the mom that you need to be, make the dinner, pick up the kids. You're not paying somebody else to take care of those kids. Or if you do need to pay somebody, it's somebody that's just part-time. You don't need to send your kids to full-time daycare. And then after they go to bed at night, you can take an hour or two, do the camming thing, have a great time with your followers or your fans. And at the same time, you're getting that endorphin release for doing many different things in the process. And you get a great night's sleep and you wake up and you have some money in the bank. Like, I can't imagine doing any, something even better than that. That's a fabulous way for a woman to be able to provide for her family and doing something that makes her happy at the same time. And people want to condemn that, even though she has a paid for house and she has a paid for car and her kids want for nothing. Seriously, you're gonna, give them a hard time for that? But that's just my opinion. More comprehensive sex education, more comprehensive sex talks with the younger generation so they understand what exactly porn or camming is instead of shying away from it. They're going to see it. My middle schooler goes to school and comes home and tells me all the things that are talked about. They know what's going on in the world, but they don't understand it. So the more that we can actually, we may not be able to help necessarily the back generations, but we can certainly go forward in making the next generations more understanding in terms of this is a career that some people may have and just understand what it is. Being able to sit there and not condemn people for this and understand that this is very much a choice that they're making for themselves. They are a grown human being that has that ability to make decisions for themselves, and we should be celebrating something that they truly enjoy. It may not be for everybody, and that's okay too. That's what makes the world so beautiful is we have so many options available. And this is one option for people that want to do this. I think that the more we see articles come out about it, the more women that are, especially moms that do this, the more that they can open up and, write an article, send it to the different organizations or doing shows like this and just making it more accessible to the wider array of people and it not be, it's not all glitz and glamour, right? It's everybody has just a regular house. They have regular jobs. They dress in sweatpants just like the rest of us. And making that scene, I think, helps to bring a lot of that kind of glamorous lifestyle down to the level that other people can understand. Again, building connections. People want to feel that connection with the industry too in a way that is accessible to them. And I think things like this is a step in the right direction.
So well said. Thank you for that. I now want to shift gears a little bit and ask you, what do you think the members are getting out of sites like Life Jasmine, especially when they're members who keep coming back? They've been members for 15 years, 10 years, whatever the case is, because we already know that you can find sexuality for free online. But for some reason, that still seems to be what people think is their only reason for being there. From your perspective and your experience with working with models, what do you think is the number one thing members are seeking and finding?
Honestly, I think they are seeking understanding. Humans want to be understood. That's all. And they want to feel heard. They want to feel valued. And maybe in some of their lives, especially those people that go to campsites or go to other places, there's so many of them that are out there in platforms at this point now. And I think the biggest thing for the people that go there, they're seeking a safe space to be themselves. They're seeking a safe space where they won't feel ridiculed or shamed for wanting to have a certain experience. They may not have the ability to go anywhere else. They may not have a community. They may not have, maybe they're a little socially awkward in a way, or there's just something that's holding them back where if they were in person with someone, they just don't have kind of that confidence in themselves. And I think when they go to a place like Life Jasmine, they have that ability to have that connection, to feel built up, to feel confident in themselves. Who doesn't want to be told that they, maybe if they're being told like they're a good boy, or if there's, something else that's going on in that sort of relationship that's empowering for the other person as well. It's definitely a two-way street. they're getting something out of it, the cam girl is getting something out of it. It's a reciprocal type of situation. It's beautiful. I think that's why they continue to come back, is because they feel both valued, they feel heard, and they feel that connection.
Yeah, really well said. You know, it's interesting because I have had a lot of members tell me that they're naturally shy. And even to the point where they wouldn't be doing the interview with me had this been a year ago. But because they have had so many positive experiences with these beautiful women. Like to them, they're these, goddesses. And this goddess is being lovely to me, that it builds their confidence in such a way. I've had them tell me that their bosses have said that they've been doing better at work and performing better and they seem more confident, and on top of it, there's just something that I think, especially for men, that having so many positive experiences with a really loving woman or beautiful woman really impacts them in so many other areas of their life, where now they're telling me that they are feeling comfortable to approach women because they've kind of like learned how to flirt or talk with a model, whereas before they would just stay in the corner and only talk to women that approach them, which we know does not happen too often, sometimes, but not as often as the other way around. And you're right, like it does really have an effect on many other areas of their life.
Very much so. And one thing that I always try to point out to people, especially when I have these conversations with others, is, you see places like Live Jasmine, you see campsites, and you see other platforms and things like that. And how different is that than someone that is picking up a book and they're picking up maybe an erotica, or they're picking up, some fantasy novel, or they're turning on a TV and they're watching some, a movie of some sort, and they're lost in it, they're engaged in it, or somebody that goes and wants to be in theater, or somebody that spends time going to plays. It's not just entertainment, but they feel that connection with a certain storyline, with a certain character. They can see themselves in it. When you go to a place like Live Jasmine, you are literally that person living out this fantasy, and you are feeling the good vibes, the endorphins. You're getting fed all those good, beautiful, lovely chemicals in your brain that, the dopamine, the serotonin, all the great stuff that makes us feel loved and makes us feel comfortable, makes us feel safe. And when you're with a cam girl, that's kind of the idea, right? You're helping your people feel safe in that environment. How, I don't want to say it's addicting, but in a way, we're addicted to wanting to feel safe. I think that's kind of something that gets overlooked a lot, is that it's a safe space. You can be yourself. You can be here with me, and it's just the two of us, and it's a beautiful situation. And like you said, they can go off and take those same skills. They feel confident. They've had those good endorphins fed to the brain. Studies show that the more that you spend that time increasing those levels of endorphins, increasing those levels of all of the feel good chemicals in the brain, it helps you to build that confidence because you have that constant positive reinforcement. Maybe you go back to the cam girl the next day and say, "Oh, I had this great experience with my boss. I got a raise." Or it's someone that you can talk to about other things, not just sex, but then you're getting the positive reinforcement. You're getting the smile. You're getting, the sexy pics, or a little bit of extra video or something like that. What a great way to celebrate all the good things in your life. Yeah, I could go on for days about it.
It's beautiful. It's what you're saying is said just so beautifully. You string together your words very, very beautifully. I could listen for days. Yeah. Um, my next question would be, and I think we've kind of hit on points of it, but I'm curious what your answer would be when I ask head on is, how do we start to create a more sex positive society, and I guess be more inclusive of the fact that sex work exists and sex work does have a place. And sometimes even the people making laws around sex work are using sex work, but that's a completely different other thing, right?
Oh
But
yeah, I got stories on that. Oh my goodness. But yes, I think one of the things that we need to do is and we're already doing it. There's so many great educators out there, um, Dr. David Lee Miller, or oh, I always screw up his last name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dr. LaMiller, yeah.
Yeah. He's doing fabulous work and talking about fantasy and talking about how normal the fantasies are for people and what types of fantasies and some of the work that I do with the organization TASHA, the Alternative Sexualities Health and Research Alliance. They created this wonderful kink health study where it discussed the prevalence of all of the different types of kinks and just how widespread it really is. Something in the neighborhood of 60% of the US population would identify as kinky, according to this study. Other researchers, other books, the Leather Couch, How to Work with Kinky Clients. It's definitely one of my staple books. And it's an entire case study that talks about the demographics behind kinky people or people that engage in alternative lifestyles and people that are much more open to the idea of using pornography both in their relationship as well as solo. It's absolutely astonishing that so many people, particularly those with higher educations, those that are in very stressful work environments, think people like professors, doctors, therapists, psychologists, that makes up the majority of the people that engage in these types of behaviors. So I think when we start breaking it down and showing studies like this and we speak about it from an ethical perspective, that these are consenting adults. These are not women that are being forced into it. These are not women that are, down and out or they're addicts or, all of these things that society has really made it seem like in the past. These are women doing this for a living because they want to. Yes, some of them have PhDs, some of them have, MBAs and all of this stuff. And they're choosing to do this because of the joy that they feel in here, not because of what society is telling them to do. So I think just the more that we make it accessible from that perspective, using science to help illustrate it, I think the more ethical it becomes, at least to the society around us, the more we talk about it, the more it's just tabletop conversation, instead of the dirty secret that you only discuss with that one really close friend that you can say anything to. Yeah, I think we just have to be more open to the discussion of it.
I completely agree. And I really like that you made the correlation that, people who have high stress jobs are known to engage more in these types of sexual experiences or desires. It does show there could be a connection to the fact that engaging in who you are sexually and intimately releases a great deal of stress. And when you have stress to release, of course, you're going to naturally go towards things that are beneficial and helpful in that way.
Absolutely. And even beyond that, beyond the stress component of it, oftentimes we see that people that, for some reason, it tends to be that they are more open just to new experiences in general. So the more that you learn, the more that you seek out new knowledge, the more that you want to improve yourself, the more open and more likely you are to try something new or to be looking at things from multiple perspectives rather than just the perspective that you're told. Oftentimes when you're getting a bachelor's degree, especially once you get even higher up there, but I think, gosh, even super early on, one of the very first things that you're taught to do is to research, right? You have to look at argument and counter argument. So when as you get older and you're going through your degree programs, you're in your career, suddenly something is in your face that you didn't really expect. Maybe you're cruising the websites and you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden Live Jasmine pops up, and instead of looking at it and going, oh my God, I need to turn this off, this is a terrible thing, you're looking at it from a completely different perspective of, I wonder what this is. So it turns from judgment to curiosity. People that have those higher degrees tend to be more curious individuals and much more willing to try something out of curiosity. And then they're going to naturally, because we are humans, we want pleasure, we seek it out every opportunity we get. Um, we go and try it and go, wow, I really like this. This makes me feel really good. So I think it comes from that sort of perspective as well. Just people with higher educations just tend to look at things with a more curious sort of mindset rather than a judgmental one, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. My final question would be if you could summarize our need for connection as humans, in one word. And it could be any form of connection. There are so many these days. It's digital, it's online, it's in person, it's whatever the case is. How would you describe a human being's need for connection in one
Vital. It's just vital.
word? Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh no, thank you so much. This is it's a topic that I absolutely enjoy talking about, and I spend so many hours with clients and writing about it, but getting to have a one-on-one where it's something fun like this, it it built my serotonin, it put the dopamine in my brain, so I feel really good. So thank you for that.
I love that. Yeah, and I love that you touched on that component of like the neurochemicals that get activated when we do have pleasing experiences of connection, even if it is online, even if it is through Zoom, even if it is through Live Jasmine. Like there is something activated when there's a pleasing connection in our brains, and we don't know why we feel so good. I mean, unless you're a researcher and a doctor, then you know literally why, but we know that we do feel good when we have these moments.
Yes, and it's definitely nothing to be ashamed of to seek out those moments. I mean, especially when it's something healthy like this, you're not doing anything to harm your body. You're encouraging your brain to have happy moments. That's a beautiful thing. So I think Live Jasmine is absolutely vital because of that.